So are we supposed to sympathize with the Monsignor now? The Monsignor who did all of this for his own selfish reasons? We supposed to care about him now? I don't care. I don't care. Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Midnight Mass. Now this is a limited series available on Netflix. It's horror and it's suspense. It stars Zach Gilford and Kate Siegel. Now before I get into why, even though the pacing can be a little slow with the film, the writing could have been a little bit better, but even though, and I'm like nitpicking, a couple of things lacks, this is one of the best, horror, throwback, 70s, get you so invested series that I've seen in a long time. I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss all things Bev and Monsignor Pruitt. Yeah. Hopefully subscribe to see more of me. Let's get into this show. Before we even touch on the show, we have to talk about the writer and the director, because when I saw the name I was like, oh, this is why it's so well written and I'm so invested. This was written and directed by Mike Flanagan. High Key Oculus, Hush, Gerald's Game, Dr. Sleep, some of my favorite horrors who have come out, in the past decade or so, he has touched. Also, we have, shows like The Hunting at Hill House and a couple of other things that he's come out with. Bottom line, he knows what he's doing. And a lot of the things that I've seen him touch on, he's either being really creative and different or really giving us throwback traditional horror with really good, jump scares. The CGI is on point for the most part, all the special effects. Good job. Now, getting into the series, you can instantly tell with the atmosphere that Mike Flanagan loves that throwback, 70s, 80s, early 90s horror. There's a whole lot of, kind of Wes Craven, Stephen King, John Carpenter-esque feel, and you can tell that there's a lot of homage being paid. We get into this isolated, like really hopeless atmosphere in the setting of this fisherman, Sleepy Hollow ass town. It's very throwback as far as horror is concerned to me. As soon as it came on, I was, feeling Salem's Lot, The Fog, a little Silver Bullet. This director loves horror. Now, the show has only 7 episodes, but I think it made really good use of the time that it had, and that really left us wanting more. Now, the show lets us know what we're in for immediately, with every single one of the episodes being named after a chapter in the Bible. I was like, oh, we about to go there. There's so much talk of religion and really good grounding conversations here. They are so important to the show. But before we jump on religion, with that being such a big aspect here, I really want to get into the character development here. It was such great writing here and such really good build-up. It's really great when the writer gets you invested and we really care about the characters, and we found ourselves not just caring about one character or the main character, we cared about a slew of people in this sleepy town. We have Riley Flynn, a young man tormented by guilt from killing a girl in a drunk driving incident. He serves time and gets out, and even though he comes from a strongly religious family, he no longer has faith in God and has visions of this girl that he killed, via these flashing lights and him, seeing the light leave her body. And they are really well done. They really him just blinking and she's there. I was like, oh. Now, even though Riley is such a tortured soul and such a saddened person due to his guilt, he is so relatable as a character. I don't care who you are, where you are, as far as, things happening in life that you either had a part in and had no control over. That guilt he carries around the whole show, and that main question of why, and we're going to get into why, and that good conversation that they had together. Everybody's had a moment like that. So it was really nice to see him here and follow him on his journey, because episode 1, you couldn't tell me that this was not our guy. I was like, we finna follow him and he about to prevail. No. Now, after we leave Riley, who is not only seeking, acceptance, mend broken relationships with his family, mainly his dad, sobriety, all this really interesting stuff, we get into the preacher mysteriously, magically there to replace, fill in for Monsignor Pruitt. Now he's there, supposedly this preacher has fell ill, and he's there, to just bump that. Nobody asks any questions. We're going to get into why the townspeople, Bev, didn't ask any questions, but we're going to get into his character, because with him and the whole dynamic of his age and how he looks versus, and I was just so many questions there. We're going to get into there, but he just pops up and with a large ass crate. And nobody says anything. Not only did he show up with a large ass crate, but he showed up with someone's old face too. We gonna get into that. Now we also have Miss Green, who's friend, I think former lover to Riley. She's pregnant, she's running away from an abusive marriage, she's divorced, and she's now teaching in a town that she had long forgotten. And it seems like even though she has as much disdain for the town as Riley, due to her condition, she really feels like, being there is a good thing. It's really fulfilling her. The religion there, she's really feeling like this is where she needs to be to change her life just as much as Riley does. Now, it wasn't missed on me either that Miss Green also had a really bad relationship with her mom, who was also an alcoholic. We get a lot of references to AA and alcoholisms within the show via, our town drunk and our main character. I just didn't think it was anything to throw away that, we were having all these biblical references and we had several characters in such a small town dealing with alcoholism. Watering the wine. We also have the town doctor. She has a really strong presence in the town. For the most part, we do see her, interact as a doctor, but she really has a lot of focus on taking care of her mom, who has dementia. There is a little sprinkle, I think, of her being gay, and then it's just kind of thrown away. We never really see the character again, or it's not mentioned again, but you can see that she kind of has an off-putting relationship as far as the church is concerned. Now, we also get into this Muslim sheriff who offers so much to the conversation in this small series. Now, due to the town being so small and being so close-minded, not only to outsiders, but to people who practice different religions, such as him being Muslim, he's pushed out, he's undermined, he's, looked down on. He's always made to try to conform and blend in with the town rather than just being himself and practicing his own religion. He also has a very, very impressionable son who wants more than anything just to fit in and be in denial of anything. Like, I'm not trying to practice none of that, Dad. They're not doing that here. We're on this island. You forced me to be here. I'm trying to be an islander. He has so many good conversations here, and we gonna talk about them. Now, we flesh out the show with other really interesting characters. Of course, we have the weed man. We also have the mayor and his wife, who have really good standing in the community. They're very involved in the church and with the townspeople. But sadly, they also have a teenage girl who is forced to be in a wheelchair because she was shot during an accident with the town drunk. Now, we get all off into Stephen King, John Carpenter throwback territory when we throw in a small town and a drunk. You gotta have the drunk. I love that. But he is, an alcoholic who is filled with guilt for putting this teenager in a wheelchair. He is ostracized by the community. The only affection he gets is from his dog, and he has a riff back and forth with goddamn Bev. Let's talk about Bev. Now, am I the only one who thought Beverly Marsh? I was getting Beverly Marsh, and especially when I saw, I don't watch the Easter egg type of videos. I don't watch any videos pretty much before I do my own. But I saw, you know, a street was named Main Street. I was like, look at him playing homage. I see you, Mike Flanagan. Now, Bev is a very, very loyal, overbearing ass, overly opinionated member of the community. She put the J in judgmental. She's one of those Christians who lives by the Bible. She knows it word for word and can recite it front to back, but doesn't notice how flawed she is as a person or as a Christian. She admires the church and she admires the priests, but what she says is law pretty much over the priest, over the sheriff, over everybody. She has so much standing there just as a person. And we're going to get into her. She was very much giving me that heifer from the mist who was trying to, you know, send people out to the slaughter. And like, she had such a commanding presence in this town. It wasn't even funny. And the sad thing is, you could see this happening in real life just under the barrier of, well, this is a good Christian woman. Now, after we leave Bev, who really wanted the D from Monsignor Pruitt, I'm just saying, she was. Okay, we get into that looming presence around the town. You know, just weird stuff happening. Cats popping up on the beach, people seeing an entity outside of their window, then it's not there. We get this screeching music. I love a good reveal. It was really great. We don't gotta see everything all the time. All the darkness, that screeching, you know, sound, that impact. We love that. The glowing eyes and that really, really great reveal we got, you know, towards the middle of the series. But up until then, we really didn't get to see much, which is awesome. We don't want to see nothing. We can wait. But getting into our, you know, angel vampire entity, that's another. But you know what? If you came this far and you didn't put this video on and you ain't watched the whole show, too bad. Let's get into some of the things that were just a little inconsistent for me and just really bothered my soul. And they're small, but that goddamn Monsignor Pruitt and his age and nobody being able to recognize him, with him being, I was like, don't nobody recognize him. Now, granted, we do have the older woman who, you know, has the dementia, who recognizes him, but outside of her, for a very long time in the show, nobody makes a reference or just like, hey, you kind of look, nobody, like, we know people age, you know, faces change, but I was just not buying. Like, I just wish that they had it to where, you know, something happened to his face, you know, at a certain point in time, or just, you know, just give me some license for no one to freaking recognize him outside of the one picture in that office. I just think they could have handled that a little bit better, but it didn't bother me so much. And then we have the vampire, who is pretty much looming through the town for the most part before we get that big reveal of what happened to Monsignor towards the end. But he is very, like, the end, he's very bloodthirsty and present and so engulfed in sucking blood that he just ignores everything. Like, he just can't tear himself away from it. So for him to be just that involved in blood sucking and be so bloodthirsty, the fact that he was able to loom through the town and suck on animals and just be kind of off the grid, I was like, how were we able to pull that? Like, did the Monsignor have some type of relationship with him or some type of hold on him, or agreement, like, hey, you only get to touch 2 townspeople until we drop this bomb? Like, I just wish that there was a little bit more there to explain that to me, because I just wasn't buying that he was fine for however long period of time just sucking on cats. Like, did y'all see he was all like, he was like, girl, no, you mean tell me he was just waiting around? Okay. Now, once we get into the townspeople and the church and all those good conversations that we got going there and all these really good references. Now, first of all, if you're a horror fan and you use your context clues, you know, soon as he brought out that good goblet of grape juice, it's like, okay, he put something in there. But for a very long time, we don't know what and we don't know why. But there is such a strong, commanding presence of religion in church here. We have the church start off, there aren't, a lot of people coming. Bev is, continuing to complain. They really hit home on what people still do now. We only see you guys on holidays, Easter, Christmas. What about the rest of the year? How can we draw people in? Now, up until, people sipping the gin and juice, there is a low count of people there. We have, endless people drinking, and I'm like, don't sip it. Don't sip it. Don't sip it. But we have our Flynn, our main character, who has his own bout with, Christianity and everything. But just to appease his family, he is attending church, but he does not sip the Kool-Aid. And you cannot tell me I was riding with Riley Flynn so hard. Because I was like, I know this movie. Don't you drink what's in that cup. He didn't drink it. He's sticking strong. He gonna make it to the end, and he gonna save all the townspeople. You can't tell me no different. Right? Now, for much of the beginning of the series, we have the preacher flowing through the town like a breeze. Now, I did not know right away what was going on, because up until we get the old age situation in the backstory for Monsignor, I really didn't know what he was there for. We knew that he was unsettling, but we didn't know why. So that was a nice surprise, even though when it happened, I was like, but we get into him just really subtly dropping hints that, hey, I'm not who you guys think I am. I love that he kind of deters from questions of people asking who he is, where did he come from. But while all at the same time we have him dropping hints like, oh, he has, little subtleties to know certain things that you just probably wouldn't know as your everyday fill-in preacher. And then we have him saying his little, I'm proud of you. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Like, what you got to be proud of? You don't know these people, right? But it was so well written. And then we get more into Bev being Bev. Bev is one of those really great, a character or an actress has done their job when you just don't like them. Like, it's no point in the show that you like them. When people reference, why don't go to church, Christian, that type of Christian, like, they're talking about Bev. They are talking about Bev. I really love that within these series, we are able to have a discussion, an open discussion about religion, and it not feel so contrived, heavy-handed, trying to slap us in the face. It doesn't really, in my opinion, it didn't really offend anyone. It's so easily to push someone's button and try to talk about religion. It's really not the best open conversation starter. But here we get, aside from Riley Flynn, we get Bev, we get the priest, we get the town drunk, we get the Muslim. It is really, really great and really well written here. I enjoyed it. But, we have him flowing, getting a feel from people, and him really leaning into our Riley Flynn character. But not only Riley Flynn, our town drunk as well. You see that he's kind of trying to do his best to kind of horn in, okay, not only am I trying to fill the seats in this place and get, everybody to sip the Kool-Aid, but I really want to pull in these people who are not coming up to drink. You see that he's very adamant about people taking that body of Christ and the blood of Jesus. Like, we don't want it. But after we have, a sneak attack from Bev, killing the dog, I was like, y'all could have at least just showed a hand. You showed that little church dress. We knew it was Bev. Took that man dog. And I thought it was like, it really took me back when, first of all, that was a big ass dog. When she killed the dog, I was like, why we had to kill the man dog? What did that add to the show? But after I calmed down, I was like, this is really good standing here, because we do have, Joe, the town drunk, be upset. Of course, he's really sad about his dog, and all fingers point to Bev. But we have, when the sheriff goes to investigate and even question her a little bit, you see how convincing, calculated, just that I'm like, this is a conniving ass person, a sneaky ass person who can quickly clothe everything in a Bible verse, religion, her standing in the town. This is the person that we need to be looking out for. So that's what I took, her and the poison, and what poison? That poison, not me. Because I was like, girl, you didn't have to kill that dog. But I understand why. Now, with us having the preacher trying to use AA to get closer to Riley Flynn and really get into his mind, and that's the thing with him having such a standing in the community and knowing them prior, you just are conflicted, like, that's because, you know, he was a former altar boy, much unlike his brother is now. You're just really looking like, is he really invested in him, or is he just trying to get him to sip the Kool-Aid? We really don't know. But that conversation that they have during AA about that big why, it was so good and so open. A lot of times, you know, with Christian-based religion and others, one or the other can be very heavy-handed at trying to understand the other person's side. A lot of the time, a person will use their religion to go, okay, yeah. Forget whatever you're talking about and whatever makes sense to you. This is why I believe in what I believe in, and this is why you should believe in it too. And if you don't, you are wrong. I love the fact that it was just so open here and so honest. And we're getting into, you know, his guilt from that car accident. We have Monsignor Pruitt going, you know, he's talking more about wine. Like, you take that guilt is so, that damn conversation saying that guilt and sorrow and shame and, you know, the worst aspects of life can be a blessing depending on what you do with it. It was sent from God and you use it to do, like, when you had Riley Flynn go, what kind of twisted shit is that? Like, what does that mean for this, you know, entity bigger than any and everything, the creator, to sit and watch these things happen and not help and not assist? Why would he give me, you know, grief and sorrow and all of these things and pain as a blessing? Why would we have things, you know, like our young lady in the wheelchair, the town drunk, have me hit, because I did it, I love how he was taking ownership, have me hit a girl and take her life? Like, it's that age-old question of if God can prevent these things, then why wouldn't he? Why would you, you know, just say, and it's just, you know, they're just not in agreement. And the way that it was handled, it was so good. Like, I was like, oh, here we go. It was handled and it wasn't being preachy. And it also didn't, you know, slam Christianity. It was just like an open, honest conversation. And we need more of those. But after we leave Riley Flynn telling the priest, but, you know, we can just chalk it up to God works in mysterious ways, why we can just throw that on it. Like, I was like, we really get into the series and the church just hitting a whole stride in a change, because it is, you know, a little slow paced in the beginning, but right around episode 3 and 4, we get into that strong religious aspect like it wasn't big and present before. We have our young lady who's been wheelchair bound the first half of the series. Of course, you have the little entanglement with the crush and, you know, the younger brother, and her just feeling really, you know, stricken. I was cut down before I ever had a chance to live due to me being shot. And you see that it weighs so heavily on not only her parents, but the community as a whole. Now, after we've had, you know, sips wine several times, the priest enticed her to stand up and walk, and she goes, and the community as a whole thinks that they have witnessed a miracle. Getting into that miracle, and, you know, not only do we have the priest going through a change body-wise, him fainting, him gasping, you know, he's changing, but we don't know what's going on. We have that going on, but the amount of people who latched on to the church, the people who came to be healed, the people who all of a sudden had all this belief, whole throwback moment to me, you know, those infomercials, that, you know, midnight action, we would have all the priests and all the, you know, hey, buy some miracle water, this Jesus band. It really turned on what strong beliefs and people who are seeking help, what they will follow if they think that there is someone who can provide it. Like, the moment Shorty got up and walked, the church was filled with people seeking anything that he had to offer. Like, it just brought me back to what power and religion are just an entity, you know, man can have over an everyday person, and just how impactful it can be. And it brings me to, you know, how we could have Manson family, Marshall Applewhite, Jim Jones, not, you know, Dipset Jim Jones, Jonestown Jim Jones. It was such a strong cult presence here, especially later on in the film. It just tells you the power. Like, it was like, these things really happen. Now, outside of that really strong aspect of horror that we do get from, you know, the angel, the vampire, that kind of takes a back seat. And the horror here is just the way religion can be used to close, you know, people's eyes. It was good. Now, once we get to the middle of the series, we had a lot of multiple stories going on. Not only do we have Bev running around being Bev, like her and her overly anxious ass. I was like, go sit down. We have her there. We also have, you know, the town drunk just kind of dealing with his guilt and trying to overcome alcoholism and go to AA. You have Flynn, who's working on his relationship with his dad. Not only that, but he's rebuilding his relationship with his friend Miss Green. And then we also have, you know, our older woman who has the dementia, and her, you know, seeing faces that look familiar. And you also, you know, hear her talk about, you know, the father, and I saw your father, and it's just kind of like, you know, what's my father's name? It's just a question happening there. And you do see that even though we have all the townspeople kind of coming and kind of sipping the Kool-Aid, we have some who just decide not to because they just don't believe in it and don't do church. But we have him go out of his way to give communion to her mother. And it's like, okay. But by the time we get to the episode where we get to what actually happened and who he is, I was like, soon as they showed him, because at first it's just like he's, you know, kind of referencing a story that Monsignor Pruitt told him. But once I saw his face, I was like, that's some old age makeup. Now, old age makeup can, you know, be hit or miss for me. It was really good here, but it was really telling within the story, because once I saw that these were clearly younger people in old age makeup, I was like, the only reason that they would do that is because at some point in the series we're going to have them, you know, get younger, or we're going to, you know, revert back to something. They're not just, they could have just hired older actors. I low-key kind of wish that they did, especially for Monsignor Pruitt, just so that maybe it could keep me guessing, because as soon as they hit that flashback of him, you know, on his little journey and his sabbatical, I was like, that's the same man in old age makeup. But once you see him go on his whole journey and go into this cave and he's bitten, once we see the vampire, you know, that he, you know, views as an angel, so well done, so well done. He looked so good and so authentic, not rubbery or just really, you know, mask costumey. It looked really good. But I love that with him being a priest and being so religious, he saw this entity and instantly assumed it was an angel. And, you know, we're looking as an audience like, what? But it goes back to, you know, everything. I love here how, like, everything under the sun that was happening, it could be referenced to a biblical verse, a verse in the Bible, or this, especially with Bev, honey, she was throwing that shit out there. It was so much. But the fact that this priest, this man of faith, who was really old at this point, he didn't recognize that this angel was using him to get out of this cave. It was just like, of course, he, you know, went on this long journey, this walk. They don't, you know, dive a whole lot into it. He just, you know, stumbled up on this cave, but it just seems really deserted and there's so much sunlight. And it's just like, if you didn't go to retrieve him, was he really going to be able to get out? Was he going to journey? Was he strong enough? Was he like, but just the fact that he gave him youth and the selfish reason that he brought him back to the island, and how fearful, oh my God, how fearful he was as a priest of old age and dying. And that dialogue that the older lady, soon to be younger woman who has, you know, the dementia, saying, you know, there is supposed to be, you know, an afterlife, a heaven waiting. If it's supposed to be that, why are we so afraid to die and to, you know, really be consumed by the dementia, the old age, you know, try to relive the past and go over once was. Him really bringing in that selfish reason as to why I'm going to wrap everybody up in this, have everybody, you know, drink from this goblet, I'm going to help, when it was really selfish. It was so telling. Watch yo back. Now, after we leave a really good conversation via the sheriff and Bev, when, you know, he finds a Bible in his son's backpack because they've been handing them out, and it struck up a really good conversation because he's like, you know, we read from the Quran, we are Muslim. Why are you able to freely hand these out and it's not a problem? Because if I did the same and I tried to kind of enforce Quran, or, you know, and it would be a totally different story. You would have a problem with it. And the way that the town just instantly sided with her and just diminished anything he had to say, and it was just like, this shit really be happening. Really good conversation though. But we have so much begin to happen in the story. Not only do we have the townspeople, you know, not saying a word about it, but everybody's just, you know, a little bit more vibrant, looking younger, healthier, just living their best life. And it's just okay. We have the Monsignor who's really sick. He's dying. He's hungry. He's really beside himself. He can't function because he's just as bloodthirsty as that vampire. We even have him kill Joe. Joe, he was doing so good, was going to AA, and like the way that it happened and him falling back and that blood coming out, it was just like, oh. No, you should just had him, you know, just attack him. Don't be trying to make him a good person. Like, well, you know, he didn't like attack him to get the blood. It just came out. Nope. Still not messing with Monsignor. But we have all these townspeople coming, and they're having, you know, all this strong following and faith and listening because they're getting instant gratification. They think that they're witnessing all these miracles, and they are so eager to follow and listen to the commands of either the priest or Bev. And it's just like baffling how she was spewing out, you know, wrap up the body, do this, this, and this. And it's just like, really? Really, it was just like, as long as, you know, I'm getting what I need, and there's this instant self-gratification, and it's wrapped in this religion that I have such strong faith in, I'm not questioning anything, and I'm doing as I'm told. This was a cult if I ever seen one. We also have our character, you know, Aaron Green, who just out of nowhere loses her baby. We have that happening. And then, you know, we have I'm like, okay, y'all townspeople getting a little younger, whatever. You have this old lady with her dementia, who is all of a sudden looking younger than her actual daughter. And it's just like, come on now. But everything is being wrapped up in, you know, this is a miracle, this is this, and it's just making the following even stronger. And people who just don't have this kind of, it's just like on the other side, it's like, what? It just was baffling how everybody was just pretty much going with the flow. Now, we also have the priest, since we have, you know, more people coming to church, he is running out of blood. Not only is he running out, but he needs some of it. He can't go into the sun. He's fragile now. You see that he's really turning. Now, I do have a question as far as, you know, why was it taking so long for him to turn? And, you know, why was he able to go into the sunlight for so long? Or was it because it was diluted? First of all, if it don't smell and taste like ocean spray, don't sip it. But, you know, I just did have some questions there. But you have him just getting further, and it's just like nobody notices, nobody. And then boom, you have Bev and, you know, a couple other people acknowledge, like, oh yeah, we know who he is. We know that you're Monsignor Pruitt, and whenever you're ready to divulge this miracle that's happened to you, we're going to be here for it. The people need to know the new gospel. What miracle is doing this? The fact that everything had a nice religious Bible blanket on it and no question was being asked, and everybody was so eager to follow and just assume that this was a miracle. It's crazy, but it's so good at the same time because you could see this actually happening. Now, with all that going on, we do have you know, Riley continuing to not only search for Joe along with the sheriff and that whole thing, and the sheriff really struggling with his son just out of nowhere having a change of heart. And it really had really good standing in the series because you have this family with this strong, you know, Quran Muslim based religion, but just because they were in this small town, in the majority it wasn't just him. Even though this was a young teen, you saw that the majority were, you know, leading by example in Christianity. We're going to church, we're here on the Sabbath, he just wanted to follow, and he was a kid, and you see these same adults do the exact same thing. Just to let us know that being impressionable and following knows no bounds, has no limits. Then we get into Riley being strong in his faith or lack thereof, and you're just really rooting for him because as far as I'm concerned, besides him and, you know, maybe Aaron, everybody else was just following along, and it was just so sad to see. And that no matter what was said to him, he did not just take everything for face value, like, no, I need proof, I need answers. Who are you and what's going on? But once he was so smart every step of the way. And I do love that moment that he has with Erin when she does have her miscarriage, and they talk about, you know, where do we go when we die? What do you think it's going to be like for you? What do you think it's going to be like for me? And it's a very beautiful moment, and you really see them bond, and there's this strong will there or won't they? They're going to be together now? Oh no, they instantly snatched this shit back. Now we get into, you know, him running out of the Kool-Aid, right? And we have multiple scenes with him just, you know, where are you? I need you. He's aching, he's bloodthirsty, even though he does, you know, feed. They just wrapped old Joe's body up like it was nothing. He's just like, I need you. And he's just gone. And I'm just like, you see him walking around in a coat, jacket, and hat. And I'm like, oh, are we supposed to assume that this thing that could fly, he solely stayed on this island? He didn't go and try to bite anyone else? Like, my mind was going there. But when we have Riley go back because he just feels like in his spirit, you're not being honest with me. You're lying about where Joe is when we know he dead. Let me go back. And you have that those wings are released and he just attacks him. When we were following him so hard and he gets bent, I was like, no, y'all didn't. No, y'all didn't get me all in that shock there. And I was sad and happy by that because I was, you know, playing really guessing game, you know, with the vamp and the priest. And I was like, oh yeah. When they do the thing where they take the main character like out of nowhere, that always baffles me. I was like, oh, no. But when he attacked him and we get into that next episode, that was so shocking. But getting into everything that transpired after that and everything just really picking up pace, and you have them setting up the story kind of from Riley's standpoint. And first of all, we're you know, in search for him. Everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. Everybody's assuming the worst. You know, he's falling off the wagon again. He's not being consistent with his AA. Where is he? And it's just going, not only do we have, you know, him missing, but we have multiple people. Like what? Like really, Sheriff? We got all these people missing in this small ass town, and it's just like, oh, well, maybe they went to the mainland. No. But with all that going on, and we also have, you know, our doctor getting more and more curious about the blood and the cells and stuff being exposed to sunlight, and that going on there along with this sick priest. And when we just have him just come to and everybody just recognize, like, yeah, we're in on it. Drink this blood. This is, you know, this is a gift. There was so much talk of this is a gift. A lot of things can be, you know, cloaked with, but it's a gift. You were chosen. Like, no. But everybody was so eager and ready to follow. And I was just like, it don't matter. I'm going to keep my personal opinion to myself. But once you really have him that episode stand really firm in his beliefs and you think for 1 second that he's going to flip, it's just like he's seeing everything in a whole new light. He's really bloodthirsty. You know, they get that really good graphic of, you know, hearing heartbeats and things pop out of necks. And it's just like, he's a goner. But once you see him, you know, remain calm, stand firm, and make the righteous decision to go, no matter what you say or even me drinking, you know, this blood, I still am who I am. And I love that message, because you have his father kind of display that same strength later in the series once he turns, and he kind of makes his family, or, you know, his dad really proud in that moment. Like, we do have, you know, some same interests there. I was just as strong and, you know, did away with myself. But before we even get to that, and we have him, you know, looming over the family, and you even have Bill, you know, should we really let him go? Should we like, girl, shut up. And the priest just feels so strong, and, you know, we gave you a gift, you just got it in advance, let's just let him go. And he goes and conquers his bloodthirst, doesn't care about, you know, the sparkles he sees, and he's just really adamant about, I just want to make sure I save someone before I have to take myself out. Once he takes Aaron out on that boat, and they really have that talk, and he's, you know, explaining everything to her, and she's just still in disbelief, and I'm just sitting there like, sis, the vein is pumping, like, what is he about to do? But once you have him, and we realize, you know, he's waiting for the sun to come up to give her a demonstration, like, I'm not lying, and he like bursts into fucking flames. But before he does it, he's finally at peace with, you know, the young lady that he killed due to the drunk driving, and he sees her, and she takes him in, and she's no longer, you know, hurt and have, you know, the flashing lights. It's just no longer a burden, and for the first time in the whole series, he is free. Oh, it was so deep. Now, once we get into really the last 2 episodes of the series, all the shit freaking hits the fans. Not only do we have, you know, the plot in motion, and, you know, there's all this talk of Easter and this big reveal. We've already, you know, I'm like, y'all turned a blind eye to having midnight visuals. Okay. We have everybody just really Megatron, and like everybody is joining forces. Like, there are no naysayers at this point. Everybody is just so blinded and eager to follow, just because of what they have seen and what they feel like Monsignor can offer. No one is questioning anything. So much so that not only, you know, have we had everybody, you know, drink of the body and everything, all these Sundays and all this health and all these things improve. The only person that stands to question anything is, of course, now Aaron, who is, boom, our main person to follow. Now, I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. And our doctor. And, you know, they're trying to leave the island. You know, all the boats are gone. They've shut off the power, killed the cell phone service. At which we, you know, also have a moment with our sheriff. And he really tells us how he ended up there and why he chose that job, and discusses, you know, the towers incident, and how, you know, Muslims and people of a certain religion, and the way how he looks and his background, the way that it's influenced his job and his outlook and the opportunities that he was offered, and him, you know, climbing the ladder only to be knocked down and kind of being used to, you know, pretty much saying like, I don't know if I want to blow up my spot for that. I came here to have a low profile and just live a simple life, and, you know, kind of mourn my wife. You want me to do what, girl? But I was like, damn, he don't carry a gun. But that was a really great conversation, really great, non-offensive, realistic conversation. And we have so many of them here. Thank you, Flanagan. But once we have, you know, I love, you know, kind of the mom was down, like, you know, hey, yeah, baby, let's go get a bowl. Meanwhile, they look like sisters. But it's just pretty much like it's too late. And I love that we have Aaron, you know, make the smart choice. Like, we have to show up and go. If we don't go, we don't know what's going on, and it's kind of going to look suspicious. And you even have everybody screaming, no, don't let your son go. Like, the way that he was just persuaded and jumped into going to church. And I was like, oh, he went, like, he gonna let him go. But thankfully he goes, and everybody's there. And it's just like, you have all of this, you know, these grand speeches happening, and everybody just look vibrant, y'all, all young, vibrant things, you know what I'm saying? And once we have them just kind of be in shock, and we have, you know, the vampire show, it's just like, everybody was so calm. Now, once we have, you know, someone ingest the poison and come back, it's seen as, you know, a rebirth, and, you know, it was very much giving Jim Jones in Jonestown, and, you know, either you drink it, if not, you're going to be forced to. if you don't drink it, when we come back, we're going to, feed on you, and you're going to turn anyway. It was like you're not given a choice. And when we get into, fictional or real life figures like this, biblical references, whoever, these people who are supposed to be prophets, leaders, the second coming, and I am just like, if we're going off of what, the book says, no man is supposed to be bigger than God. You're supposed to be following this entity. So when you create someone who's supposed to be a prophet or the second coming, doesn't that, not represent the whole purpose of the religion? Like, you're not following what it says. And you have all these overly, especially bad, you have these people here who are rationalizing everything, and there's a whole bloodbath happening. Like, the series really went up from there. It was just like, oh my goodness, it's chaos. People are like, the only people you have are, a certain few who are just like, yeah, I'm not down for this. Now, everything is in them, it's dormant, but due to them drinking, that presence is there, so they have to die and come back to be really awakened, as a vampire or whatever. But when you have the people, just like you have the dad and the mom, I'm like, he warned y'all, he wrote y'all whole ass letters, and y'all just threw that shit out the window. Like, but it just lets you know how passionate they were as far as the religion and following. Like, I was like, really, up until this moment, you guys never questioned anything? Your hair is not gray anymore. And of course you have, the woman with the dementia, her daughter, everybody's just like in a panic. And I was like, really, when you saw the Muslims, it was like, damn, Etu, him getting up so eager and saying, I choose God, and drinking that poison, it was like, oh. It was just downhill from there. And you see having the father, he's like, oh, your ass got a gun now. You packing a gun now. And they just tackle each other, and it just becomes a whole slaughter and people running for their lives. But who do you have hiding in the background, waiting? Goddamn Bev. Like, I was with Erin when she shot her, like, oh, that only means I'm 5 minutes behind. Pow! Bitch, be 10 minutes behind. Let's go. The priest who's been shot in the head, the mom has been taken and attacked, like, because it's just so bloodthirsty. It's attacking anyone who has, anything to say. Like, no, what y'all not gonna do is ruin, the Easter. You about to get it. Everybody's about to turn. Like, let the dumb decision making commence. Like, once we get into the plan, to stay alive and leave and have people escape, the story just goes like, was it bad? No. But when we have the revelation that the whole time the Monsignor did this selfish act to relive his heyday when he was cheating with a married woman, the doctor is his actual daughter, and he wanted a redo, and he didn't want her to. That's why you did this? I'm like, and he kind of out of nowhere becomes like a sympathetic character, and just kind of like, oh, what did I do? You let them out the church? I didn't say let them out. Like, that did not save you, sir. Get out my face. We also have, Erin and the team, the mom, they're running around trying to figure. It's just like, Lord, like, there was no way to like lay low. All you had to do was wait for the sun to come up. Like, when we get into, the kids really trying to escape, the daughter was getting on my nerves. Mom, girl, run. We said run. She was getting on my nerves. Once we get into that and just really have them kind of first of all, everybody's getting slaughtered, everybody's changing, but we do have his parents just kind of stand firm, and like, we're not becoming inhuman just because we're changed. We're not losing ourselves. I was like, it was cute, but I was like, y'all should have listened. But with all that going on, and us really we have the entity, the vampire, flying back and forth, just killing people, snatching people from their homes, along with the townspeople, a whole full-on slaughter. With us figuring out, in the survivors figuring out, their end game is to all change and get off this island and go do this to more people. They're burning everything. Makes sense. We burn the boats. Getting into Bev, going into, her whole biblical rant, as she does 50,000 times in the show, decides to burn everything in town except for this rec center with all these beds for the chosen one. You dumb. That was so silly. But once you have her just kind of, you know, become the leader and we can't follow the priest anymore, he's lost his way. I always knew it would be you, and you're trying to be with this harlot, this abomination, whole of Babylon. This is what you're choosing. You're not fit for this anymore. It's about me. She's, you know, taking, and I'm just like, once we have stuff like, you know, the teens that are in the house and they're hiding out from the parents, and this is the home where the vampire has been feeding on everything and a couple of humans that are just there, and he's just so engrossed that he just can't be bothered. I was like, okay, but how long he's like, they're shooting him. He just like, yeah, whatever. Set him on fire. He's just pretty much unstoppable. But with how much he was feeding, like he was just waiting on this moment, I guess. I just didn't buy him just waiting by the wayside until this day. But we have that, all of that going on. We have a vital moment for everybody to kind of make it out, and they just don't. Not only are they trying to burn the church, but they're trying to burn the rec center with the bats, you know, before the sun comes up and everybody's trying to get in. It was just like, just wait until they get in there. Was I the only one mad? I'm like, just wait until they get in there. Once everybody get in there and the people who don't make it burn to a crisp, you can set everything on fire. But you have them, you know, they have to do it right then and there. That killed my whole mood. And then we have Aaron coming out and getting attacked and him feeding on her and her just like slicing away at his wings. I was like, okay. But it was, you know, to slow him down as far as flight, and we do, you know, we're following the kids, and it's supposed to be like really big. Like, I just hope they make it, you know, in my mind they made it. We're never going to know, because they're preparing themselves to die. Nobody had to die. You guys just could have waited. But whatever. They didn't freaking wait. So we have not only all of that going on, but we have the vampire fly. And it's like, do you think he made it? No, did he make it? Like, I'm over here like, yeah, he made it. But you just have everybody just kind of go. It's like, oh, where else can we go? Where can we go? No, we set everything on fire. There's nowhere to go. Oh, let's go all burn up in the sun. Really? After all that, all this planning, all this convincing, all of this, the new gospel, the new word, taking new form, new life, the chosen one, this is what came of this? All because we decided to burn everything down, following stupid ass Beth. I wanted more. The ending was, it was really climatic and anticlimactic at the same time, because we have, you know, kind of people making amends. You have the priest who only wanted, you know, a relationship with the daughter and her being shot, and he's packing her out, then told Bev off, and they just kind of go up in flames together. And I'm like, he's not a good person. He didn't make a smart choice. This doesn't make him good, because now he kind of sees the errors of his ways, and he's just ready like, oh, it's wrong. This is wrong. Set the church on fire. Like, oh, now it's wrong. But, you know, you have Bev, you know, get what was coming to her. But it just was like, everybody didn't have to die at that moment. I believe, you know, the sheriff died too, you know, with his son, him being shot, and them for, you know, one last time praying to, you know, they didn't have to do that. But I did like the son, you know, finding his inner strength and coming to like, oh yeah, this isn't right. All this bloodthirst. Yeah, let me set it on fire. It was like, everybody's having all these revelations real late. But for the most part, besides, you know, little small inconsistencies, you know, like them shooting the vampire, just easing their way out and setting him on fire, and him not attacking them because he's just so engrossed, or him just ignoring the fact that she's slicing his wings because he's, oh Lord, it's just, oh, making love to the neck. Other than that, I really, really enjoyed this show. The conversations that were had, the, you know, religious aspects mixed in with the vampire and the kind of the slow burn that happened. I really wish we got like, can we get one more episode? But because, you know, 8, let's make it even. But, you know, it's okay. It really left me wanting more and really kept us guessing as an audience, and I'm hoping that we get more like this. Really good job, Mike Flynn. Well, you guys, that was my review for Midnight Mass. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really tried to touch on things here and not be offensive. and really break down what I thought were some really important parts in the series. If anybody, you know, I'm always down to talk in the comments. If anybody got anything else or has anything else that they want to share, or, you know, give me a revelation, or, you know, hey, when they did this, I thought that, put that down in the comments. Let's get this conversation started. Please like and subscribe, share, because you know y'all don't share me. Y'all don't share me enough. Share me. Help me. Nigga, share me. But let's get that conversation going. I see you guys from my next video. Bye.